Earlier today, me and the two little boys were riding around in the pickup, and the littlest little boy, he was hiding from his mama, but the bigger little boy and I, we kind of had a project. This bigger little boy, he'd raised a bottle calf, and he and I decided that it was probably time that calf went out and learned how to be a real calf instead of being a house calf. So we didn't want to just turn him out without anybody around because he didn't even know what to do. So me and the two little boys and the bottle calf were driving around looking for some cows. And I want to clarify here because my mama will get mad if she thinks I'm telling people I was driving around with a calf in the front seat of the pickup again, and everybody will think she raised me wrong. He was in the back in the trailer behind the pickup, and he was having a real groovy time back there, at least that's what he said. But the two little boys and myself, we were in the pickup, and we were driving around looking for cows, and we were listening to Alice's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie. And it's kind of a funny song because the restaurant isn't called Alice's Restaurant, and the song's not even about Alice or a restaurant, but he just calls it that. But he wrote the song, so he can call it whatever he wants, I guess. So just about the time in the song where he gets to the part where he's talking about the 27 8x12 colored glossy photos with the lines and arrows drawn on it and a paragraph on the back of each to tell what it is, just about then we got to the gate. So the big boy gets out, and me and the little boy stayed in, and we kept listening to Alice's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie. And we drive through the gate, and the little boy shuts the gate. And then he comes and he gets back in the pickup. Now I want to tell everybody here, don't anybody tell my dad that I was listening to Alice's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie, because my dad doesn't like Arlo Guthrie because his dad was a communist. Arlo's dad was a communist, not my grandpa. I don't think my grandpa even knew what a communist meant. But my dad doesn't like communists, and I'm sure my grandpa wouldn't like communists either, and I really don't like communists, but I do like Alice's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie, so I listen to it from time to time. So anyhow, let's see, which one was it? The biggest little boy had got the gate, so he got back in the pickup. And the littlest little boy, he poked the bigger little boy in the eye and called him a Mongolian corn farmer. Now, I don't really know what that was or what that means, but the bigger little boy kind of took offense to it, so he poked the little boy in the eye and called him a socialist, which I thought was pretty funny, being as we were listening to Alice's Restaurant by Arlo Guthrie. Now, the little boy decided that being called a socialist was fighting words, so the next thing you know, one of the best fist fights in the whole wide world broke out right in the front seat of the pickup. And it was between the two little boys because the calf was in the trailer and I was busy driving, so we didn't have anything to do with it. Fist fight broke out. Well, I'm usually not one to break up a fist fight between little boys or cow dogs, but we were just getting to the part of the song where Arlo and the army psychiatrist are jumping up and down in the office, pulling their hair out, yelling, "Kill, kill, kill!" And that part is right before the part where he gets put in the Section W bench. And that part is right before the part where he sings, "You can have anything you want at Alice's Restaurant," except an Alice. And that's my favorite part of the song, so I broke up the fight. And I told those boys they needed to be quiet, be still, and behave, or else I was going to whip them both. And the littlest boy, he allowed that I wasn't going to whip both of them, or either of them, because I'd left my quirt hanging on the gate next to the round pen. So I said, "Well, you're right, I probably won't whip you, but I will hang you by your ears." And they knew I was joking, so they laughed, and I laughed, and Arlo laughed. And then the song went on, and finally we got 15-20 minutes, Arlo got done singing Alice's Restaurant, and I remembered that some time ago, somebody had asked me about how to use a quirt. So I came straight home, and we're going to make a little video about how to use a quirt. And I'm going to quit being silly, because I'm married to a Norwegian woman, and I'm only allowed to be silly for 15 minutes a year. And being as I smiled 3 times last Sunday, I'm probably getting close to my limit. So this is Fat Bottom Girl. She's a 4-year-old. She's going to be in our production sale this year, the Legacy Ranch Horse sale. She got rode probably 10-15 times as a 2-year-old, and then probably another 30 times as a 3-year-old, and got used just a little bit on the ranch. This year with the spring coming up, she's going to get used all spring, and then she's going to get bred this summer and going to be sold as a riding broodmare, so she's a 2-in-1 package. So she's pretty broke, but because she's so thick made, she's just a little square-wheeled in the way she moves. So I'm taking this time before the spring works start to kind of move her around and get her cleaned up a little bit, and I use a quirt doing it. The quirt, Bill Black made this quirt. It's got rattles in it, and the rattles are to signal my horse, and she's just getting to the point where she can go off those rattles instead of using the quirt part at all. Like I said, Bill Black made this. I think it's about 26 inches long, and different lengths work for different people. So if you're going to have one made, I suggest you double over a piece of rope or get a piece of garden hose and try to figure out the length you want, because Bill does a good job, but these things are expensive. So anyway, when I'm using this quirt, I'm just going to use it as an extension of my hand to kind of push her around where I want to go. I was taught when you're using a hackmore, you use a quirt and you don't use your spurs. The reason is because a horse will brace against your spurs, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of using a hackmore, and a hackmore is how we get them soft. And so I use it to signal her the direction and the speed I want to go the same way I would spurs. So I'm just kind of working on her neck reining. I'm not really concerned with how correct she does things. I'm just concerned that she's coming off of my rein a little bit. So I'm just going to start kind of moving around here and doing some of what I do and not talking.
At Alice's Restaurant, you can get anything you want. At Alice's Restaurant, walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's Resturant. It all started about 4 Thanksgivings ago. It was about 4 years ago on Thanksgiving when my friend and I went up to see Alice and her husband Ray and Facha the dog. Alice doesn't live in the restaurant, though. She lives in the church nearby the restaurant, in the bell tower. Living in the bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be, seeing as how they took out all of the pews. And having all that room down there, they decided that they didn't have to take out their garbage for an extra special long time. Having all that garbage in there, we decided that it would be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage down to the town dump. So we took the half a ton of garbage, put it in the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and headed on toward the town dump. Well, we got there, and there was a big sign and a chain across the road saying, "Closed on Thanksgiving," and we had never heard of a dump closed on Thanksgiving before. So with tears in our eyes, we drove off down the road looking for another place to put the garbage. We didn't find one till we came to a side road, and off of the side road was a 15-foot cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff was another pile of garbage, and we decided that one big pile was better than 2 little ones, and rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. That's what we did.
I don't want to use this every single time I turn. I just want to have it there and ready, because I want her to start moving without it. If I use it every time, she won't know how to turn without me using it. Another thing I try to do with this quirt, if I am going to use it, so I'm going to turn 180 degrees, I'm not going to use my quirt until she's halfway through the turn. And the reason I do it that way, I'll do it this way too. Hold on. The reason I do it that way, there are a little late. The reason I do it that way is because the whole idea behind that quirt is so she runs that hind leg up under her and pushes away with it. If I start quirting her at any point before halfway through there, she's going to jump out forward or a different direction. And since I want her to come all the way across, I wait till she's over halfway across and then ask her. I used to use the quirt bunch.
Get up until the next day when we got a phone call from Officer Obie. He said, "Kid, we found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage. Just wanted to know if you have any information about it." I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Obie, I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage." After speaking to Obie for about 45 minutes on the telephone, we finally arrived at the truth of the matter, and Obie said we had to go down and pick up the garbage, but first we had to go down and see him at the police officer station. So we got back in the red VW microbus with the shovels and rakes and implements of destruction and headed on toward the police officer station. Now, friends, there was only one or two things that Obie could have done, and the first was that he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest on the telephone, which wasn't very likely, and we didn't expect that anyway. And the other possibility was that he could have bawled us out and told us never to be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again, which is what we expected. But when we got to the police officer station, there was a third possibility that we hadn't even counted upon, and we was both immediately arrested, handcuffed. I said, Obie, we can't pick up the
I
garbage.
don't care that she's kind of poking her nose out a little bit and it's not real pretty. At this point, I'm just trying to get her to come off the range. And then I can make everything pretty later. Like right there, she kind of poked her nose out. That's fine. Once in a while you'll see somebody use that quirt on the shoulder a little bit. I don't very much, but you can, and you use it the same way as on the hip. Push them around with it. Just kind of speeds that shoulder up just a hair. The other way a quirt gets used, at least in my program, is a lot of times I'll just take it like this and I'll push on a horse with it. I haven't done very much of that with her yet, but a lot of times if I'm just driving cows and doing real boring stuff, just walking along, I'll push on her with it. She's coming off with it a little better. And that's partially out of the Hackmore, but it's also me pushing her around with it a little bit. Another great thing I think about a quirt is you're constantly doing this with it and waving it around and doing Dale Beardsley stuff and pointing, all kinds of things like that. And so then when you do go to roping on these horses, they're already pretty well sacked out.
Now, friends, I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this was happening. They got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers, and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years. And everybody wanted to get in the newspaper story about it. And they was using up all kinds of cop equipment that they had hanging around the police officer station. They was using plaster, tire track, footprints, fingerprints, dog-smelling prints, and they took 27 8x10 colored glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. Took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner and the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography.